We'll start with the first one, Jayanti Ben. I have a question here. Which is superior, happiness or peace?
I don't think I can say which is superior, but what I have experienced is there's a progression, because within the inner being, the soul, are the original qualities which are very pure. As a child of God, we have those qualities of God within us. And so I have peace, I have love, I have truth, I have that purity. And as I go through that journey of uncovering these experiences of my own inner peace, love and truth and purity, then I discover the happiness that comes. And so one wouldn't come without the other, but as I move forward in that journey, I'm able to come to that state of happiness. Can you imagine being happy if you weren't peaceful? Not possible. And so peace is a requisite that allows me to move forward towards happiness. But if I have only peace, and I say I'm very peaceful, but I don't have happiness in my life, that's not a very sweet experience. And so it's not better or worse, but it's a progression. This is why the first step is Om Shanti. Let me remind myself of who I am. Om, I am Shanti, peace. And let me maintain that inner state of peace. Then I can uncover the other treasures.
And so we come back to the realigning of the compass. I think that's fundamentally where you start and you begin. So thank you for that. I have another question here. What is the difference between envy and jealousy? And why is it that people are not happy to see other people happy? It's kind of like a double-edged sword.
I don't know the Oxford Dictionary definitions of these words, but how I use them is usually envy is to do with I'm envious of your possessions, but my jealousy is of who you are and what you're doing. And so that's how I've used this terminology. And so it is two different experiences. I'm looking at what you have, and I want the things that you have, but when I see who you are and what you're managing to accomplish and do, well, that's stemming actually from laziness. That was a very big light bulb that went on for me many years ago, when I understood that the root cause of jealousy is laziness, because everything is available to everyone. Yeah. And if I were to do the work, I could get the same results. But I'm not willing to do the work, but I want what you have.
Focusing on somebody else. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, the second part was people are not happy to see other people happy, and why?
Important.
Yes.
Because we've forgotten to look inside and be content. And when there's that inner contentment, I'm happy for everybody else to also grow, move forward, and be happy. And where I'm discontent, I'm not going to be happy with anything that's going on around me. I'm always going to be critical. And so when you find that or you find yourself being critical, well, stop for a moment and say, what is the bug that's biting me inside? And so what is the cause of the discontent? And so come back to Om Shanti. Om Shanti is a magic pill. And so keep coming back to Om Shanti and feeling Om Shanti. Who am I, that peaceful being? Then you're happy to see others move forward too. But Kali Yuga, at the end of Kali Yuga, everybody's discontent.
This one I quite liked. Does happiness ensure everyone around you is happy too, or is it just for you alone to enjoy?
It starts inside, but it has to come outside too. And so, yes, even if there are challenging situations around me, let me first come back to my original qualities of the self, the inner being. And you hear this word centered. And so what does that mean? It means coming back to the soul, coming back to my own original qualities. And when I discover that happiness that comes from understanding, that comes from gyan, that comes from the connection with God, then wherever it is I am, what am I going to do? I'm going to be sharing it. And it's not that there's a big artificial smile, but it just means a gentle presence that's comforting, that's helpful, and then is able to give another person that support and happiness too. And so it can't be just exclusive. It has to be shared and become inclusive.
With everyone. And does true happiness come from God or within? I think you did pretty much touch on that, but it's a question that I think has come with very bold letters, so I must ask it. Does true happiness come from God or within?
God teaches me how to be happy. And then it's up to me to have that happiness inside through my own good karma. God is my teacher, and God can teach me, but if my karma is still a bit crazy, then even God has to step back and say, well, I told you. And so God will teach, God will guide, God will empower, God will love, God will purify. But I have to be the one who does the karma and also goes on that inner journey to find that original state of happiness. So it's a collaboration with God.
I had a very interesting thought as well about happiness being like the stock market and pretty much like Bitcoin today. It's up and down, up and down. And how do we not control our happiness, but how do we keep it in a balanced way so that we're not vulnerable, or we're not volatile, and we're not all over the place?
If I think about happiness as something that I have to cultivate every day, I have to water that seed which is there and allow it to grow and develop and flourish, then it's not something that's coming and going, but it's something that I'm nurturing. And so it's becoming deeper and more powerful and more stable, and I'm able to share it more and more. If that flower of happiness is growing, then the fragrance of that is reaching outside and touching others too. And then it's not something which is external or dependent on external situations. While I say, if the sun is shining, I'll be happy. If it's going to rain, what then?
Yeah.
And for some people, their happiness goes up and down with the clouds. When it's grey skies, then how can I be happy when it's so depressing? And that happens in London a lot. But, I don't need to look outside. My happiness is something which is in here. And I have the right thoughts, the right attitude. I read something which is empowering. It's going to bring me happiness. And so, yes, there are challenging situations that come because nobody's perfect. Yeah. Really, nobody. And so you have to deal with things as they come, and you just have to check and see, why am I allowing this individual to rob me of my happiness? I don't want that. And so I can choose, and I know who are the individuals who try to rob my happiness. So especially when I'm with them, let me take God's protection.
It's almost as if you've answered the next question, because the next question says, how do we deal with unreasonable people and their behavior? So I don't know if Jayanti Ben's got some double set of eyes that is looking at the questions before I give them, but there you go, you just answered that one too, so thank you for that. This one is actually quite a good one as well.
Well, I just have another question.
Yes,
there.
Please.
Maybe I'm saying they're unreasonable. What are they saying? Probably they're saying the same thing about me. She is so unreasonable.
Yes, well. So here's another good one. How can we maintain a long state of happiness without following the ups and downs of life. And this really kind person has actually written Om Shanti and thank you. So
you gradually go on that inner journey where you're going through that process of cleansing. And it doesn't happen instantly. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. But also you keep discovering other things that you have to clean out. And the cleaner you become, this is why I mentioned how peace, love, truth, purity, and then the fruit of that, happiness. And so when things are unclean, I'm thinking about whether it's anger or ego or attachment, whatever it is that's unclean inside, I can't keep that happiness stable. And so the cleaner I become, the more I allow God's love and God's knowledge and that application of knowledge to purify me with yoga, the more I know that nothing can take away my happiness. People will come, people will go, things will happen, things will change, nothing stays the same forever. But through that process of cleansing, I'm developing my ability to hold on to my happiness more and more till it comes to the point where really it is there with me all the time.
I like that formula of the 4 or 5 things you need to be in with before happiness comes, which is the peace, the love, the entire system comes into play first, doesn't it? And that's very interesting. Here's another good one. Happiness seems elusive when we are surrounded by people who are not like-minded. How do we escape from this when it seems impossible? I.e., the people we're surrounded by are people we have to be with. Let me look at whose face that could have written that.
I think everybody feels a little bit that at different times of their journey in life. Today, here's a person and I think that they're unreasonable or that they're really off the planet or whatever. And maybe gradually, as I go on that inner journey and my perspective begins to change, maybe my vision of them also alters. And most people have a rough edge and a smooth edge. And so maybe I'm looking at the rough side at the moment. Well, can I do a turnaround and a shift and look at the goodness in that individual? And so the whole journey of spirituality is actually an inner journey. Because if today I'm finding people here and not understanding me, not helping me, not supporting me, I'll go somewhere else. And the people will have changed, but I'll carry myself with myself. Yeah. I'll have carried my attitude and my perception with me. And guess what I'm going to find?
The same things.
After a week, after a month, after the honeymoon period, again, I'll find the same complaints. For sure. Definitely. And so the lesson that I have to learn is the process of cleaning out my awareness, my consciousness, my conscience, my attitude, my drishti, my vision, and then my behavior towards them will change. And probably within a little while, the situation will change also. And it won't feel so unreasonable and unbearable and challenging.
Ego is the main hindrance to our happiness. How to reduce or overcome it. You need to be at class, whoever wrote that.
It needs a lot of introspection to even recognize that the problem is my ego. And so whoever has written the question has done half the journey already. That I recognize that it's my ego that's robbing me of my happiness. And the more I understand who I am as a child of God, and the more I maintain this awareness of the inner being rather than this the external form and the external identity, external role and position and even responsibilities. All that is out there. But just spending time, which is what meditation is about.